programs offered by the city, the 3rd Precinct, and throughout this year. We desire this so that we can welcome, care, serve, and share God's kingdom in our community. That doesn't mean that everybody has to do all of them. It just means a percentage of us. We need to be present at all of the events, not everybody. By February 29th, interesting that we have that date coming up, so it's very specific. We're going to provide small group opportunities for those who are interested in intentional faith development so that they can define and describe their strengths in order to be fully engaged in welcoming, caring, serving, and sharing the kingdom of God in their lives of discipleship. Next, to give you an update on our facility alignment team, commonly referred to as the FAT team, P-H-A-T, not the other way. So the facility alignment team has met with 3 different vendors over the summer to explore facility and site master planning. There are 3 basic goals of this team: to update the facility's dated look, to determine how the facility can help us to be more inviting to the community, and determine how our largest asset, which is our property, can assist in generating income streams in the future. The companies were HBA Architecture, Wesley Community Development, and Church Development Services. Prices for the initial work ranged from $10,000 to $25,000, which we have the funds on hand for that. And the facility alignment team will be evaluating these proposals in the coming months. They have not seen them yet. We just got the last one, I believe, last week. So stay tuned for more on that. Prayer room. As part of the facility alignment team goal to update the facility, the Connections team has developed a plan to update the prayer room with some newer furniture and painting. If you've been in there lately, the paint on the walls has been chipping in that room for a while. We actually replaced the floor in there at the same time we replaced the flooring in the hallway. We want this space to be a more intimate space to gather and talk as well as pray. And memorial funds will be used for the update of the prayer room. Trunk or Treat Fall Festival. Pay attention closely, because this is a change from what we've done in the last few years. Rather than have our trunk or treat on Halloween night, we have decided to move it to the Saturday before, from 4 until 7 p.m., and combine it with a fall festival. This will be a partnership with the preschool and the church, and open to the whole community for free. You should start seeing publicity here very soon. Christmas Eve. Observant people will know that Christmas Eve falls on Sunday this year. So for Sunday, we will have Christmas Eve services that day at our customary Christmas Eve day services of 11 in the chapel and 5 p.m. here in the sanctuary. We will not have the traditional 9:30 and 10:45 worship that day. If you do show up for traditional 10:45 worship, you'll be just in time for the 11 o'clock service. And then we will have one worship service on December 31st at 10 a.m. due to historically low attendance on that Sunday. Church finances through August, we've had income of $772,000. Expenses of $736,000, which are very good numbers, especially when the income number exceeds the expense number. And just a reminder that our 2023 budget was for $691,000, and that is just the church. That does not include the preschool budget. We've had significant savings from recent ongoing contract negotiations and vendor changes, including copier, telephone, and floor mats. Believe it or not, the floor mats you see at the door are not really cheap. We've got a savings of about $36,000 for the 5-year period from 2022 to 2028, or about $6,500 annually, and we really want to thank Joe Ford for all his work on that. Last topic I want to talk about this morning is staffing. And several weeks ago, I know Pastor Beth announced a number of staffing updates, and I think to a lot of people it seemed like, good grief, we're adding a lot of people on the staff of the church. And actually, in reality, we're one staff less than where we should be. So as I go through these, I want you to keep in mind some of these. Lori had 2 jobs. She was the director of children's ministry and the preschool director. So when we replaced Lori, we replaced her with 2 people, not 1. So it goes back to when we had a preschool director and a children's ministry director. And I also want to point out that prior to the pandemic, Haggett has traditionally had an associate pastor. We've had 2 appointed clergy, Pastor Mary, Pastor Lisa, Pastor Patty, and Pastor Ann. So when we announced Pastor Brittany a few weeks ago, that was just kind of a continuation of where we've been, and also Brittany is part-time. We share her with Oak Grove. So I'll go through this because it's on paper. So Peggy Morrison, who was in the office and the preschool part-time in each job, became our preschool director effective September 1st. Reverend Brittany Toner has been appointed as the half-time minister of congregational life and also taking on the children's ministry responsibilities that Lori had and the congregational care responsibilities that Pastor Ann had. Her focus is on congregational care and supporting church ministries. She will also preach about 6 times a year and lead worship regularly. And as I mentioned, we share her with Oak Grove United Methodist. Ava, who is in the back, has taken over the existing position of digital production coordinator, which Carmen gave up when she went to JMU to go to college. Alexis Franklin is doing a music administration internship with Joan this fall. And Alexis is a student at Regent University and is doing this work as part of her degree completion at no cost to Haggett. The leadership board is exploring hiring a virtual administrative assistant to replace the office manager duties vacated by Peggy. And this position has been in our budget this year. And the leadership is also exploring hiring an accompanist to work with the 9:30 and 8:30 services. This is a position that was budgeted and is a position that has been separate in the past. We've always had a choir director and a accompanist at this service in particular, the 9:30 service. That is a lot to talk about in a very short time, and I wanted to see if anyone had any questions on that. Can't have done that good of a job. We have any questions on the
Wait, Denise, you're
Facebook
on the
channel?
leadership board. What's your question?
Because that only happens every 4 years.
Denise's question was, why February 29th? Because it's a leap year. That only happens once every 4 years.
So when you
it's a special.
develop goals, they need to be very specific. They need to be smart. Well, how more specific can you be than February 29th? It's not February 29th of 2028. It's February 29th of 2024. All right. Yes. Somebody.
Larry.
Larry.
This renovation of the prayer room going to depend on what the contractor might come up with?
No, because this is just, it's very cosmetic. There's nothing other than newer furniture and some paint. There's no other changes in that. So it doesn't impact anything that might come out as a result of the firms that we've selected to do a feasibility study. We wanted to make it neutral as far as that goes. You want to talk about it?
What does a virtual administrative assistant mean? Is Agnes in the room? No.
Agnes is right in the back.
Agnes is right in the back. Agnes, would you be willing to come up? And Agnes is the member of our leadership board who's done the research on what a virtual administrative assistant means. So I will turn it over to her. Essentially, part of the background is that we've discerned that we only have about 8 to 10 hours of work a week. So it's pretty tough to find somebody to work for 8 to 10 hours a week. at the pay that we're able to do.
So a virtual assistant kind of works out of a firm, and you can hire them. They are vetted, they go through a background check in some instances, and they're basically doing all of their work virtually for an office, an executive, a business, or a pastor. So a lot of the tasks that were with Peggy and are going to now be split between this VA, which is virtual assistant, and a volunteer within the office, doing email work, database cleanup, light social media work, content management of the website, things like that.
Things like doing funeral bulletins and all that. Obviously, the people who copy them will have to be here on site, but volunteers are extremely capable of copying funeral bulletins is good news for us. So, does that answer? Does that help? Good. Thank you, Agnes.
Any other questions? Right. Thank you all very much.
Let me do one thing and ask leadership board members to stand up one more time in case you weren't looking and you now have questions and you want to ask someone. Okay, and Agnes is in the back and Austin is back there. Okay, so you have, and Phyllis is standing. Really, she is. Okay, thank you. I think they are ready for us. Come on, let's pack some meals.